you're trying to appeal to a man by sort of saying, I'm like you.
Yeah,
I'm not like the
other girls. Yeah.
Sleep with a band guy. So it's just kind of strange. Can assume is a woman is listening to heavy metal to have sex with men.
Yeah.
You see it play out in pop culture all the time with celebrities. It's like Beyonce versus Taylor Swift, always pitting women against each other. And
the man is always the prize.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day.
Hi, I'm Dee Salmon, and yesterday I got a really, really hot passport photo taken.
Yes! And that's 10 years.
It's the best feeling because I will say my last photo was hideous. It was so bad. I think I had come into the post office off a bender. My hair was pink. My eye makeup was smudged. I just looked really tired. So yeah, I was really strict with this passport photo. I was like 10 hours sleep the night before, makeup, eyelashes flicked, hair stunning.
Beat to the gods.
And
let me tell you, I was a witness to this and it is a great photo and it paid off all the work. So enjoy that 10 years of bliss until you go, why did I bleach my eyebrows? At one point you will say that.
Why did I have a microfringe?
Why did I have the dark lip? Very vampy.
Yeah, very vampy.
It was a very vampy moment for you. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be a moment in time.
Yeah. I, for one, have never taken a bad photo with
pick
any
me,
of my IDs.
Oh my God, no, we're going to get into that.
You did your hair and makeup for it?
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Anyway, hi, I'm Pip Rasmussen, and I just found out that I'm a secret strike queen at bowling.
Now that is hot. That is hot.
To be fair, we were all pretty lit. I just was the best of the bad bunch. But I did get a few strikes, which was kind of cunt, if I have to say so myself.
Babe, that is really hot.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here on the hookup. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast or vodcast if you're listening and watching on YouTube or Spotify. This is where we talk all things love, sex, dating, and relationships. And this episode is all about pick-me's. Obviously a bit of a cultural buzzword that's been going around for the past couple of years, I'd say. But something that really grabbed our attention this year was performative males.
Yes.
And we kind of were like, is that the guy version of a pick-me? So we thought, let's do a whole episode about it.
So yeah, in this episode, we wanted to explore both of these terms, but especially pick-me, because we feel like the term's kind of been taken out of context now, and people are just calling women pick-me's for saying that they're good at bowling or for saying that they don't wear makeup or don't care about passport photos or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's kind of run away from us, I think.
Little. So we're going to explore what they actually mean, when it can be a good or bad thing, and we'll figure out when it's problematic.
And before we kick off this episode, again, sorry, this is obviously feeling a little bit gendered. We're talking about pick-me girl, performative guys, the binary of it all. But unfortunately, that's just kind of how it's going to play out. So, yeah,
we're sorry. We keep doing episodes like this.
No, my bad.
These are the DMs that we get.
Yeah.
We're going to answer your questions.
Let's get into it.
So I would say that the definition of a pick-me, which is usually associated with girls and women, is to describe someone who seeks validation from men, but in seeking that validation, they put down other women, right? So it's trying to position a pick-me is someone who tries to position themselves as like, I'm not like other girls.
Yeah. It's like distancing yourself from traditional forms of like femininity. So like some classic examples of pick-me would be like, oh, you're ordering a cocktail? Oh, that's so girly. Like I prefer a 6-pack of beers. And like something that a man might traditionally like sport or video games, where you're just like, oh, I don't do like hair and makeup. Like that's not my hobby. That's kind of embarrassing. I'd prefer to actually get couple of guys around and play COD and Halo and also watch the AFL Grand Final. Like that kind of thing where you're trying to appeal to a man by sort of saying, I'm like you.
Yeah, I'm not like other girls. Yeah. I'm different and like I'm easygoing and I'm chill. And I would say that you know, we had a few people DM us and say like, oh, it's like the cool girl speech in Gone Girl. I would actually preface that a cool girl is different to a pick me.
I think they're separate.
They're separate. I would say that a
Yeah.
cool girl is a girl who just like acts really chill and it's just like, oh, I'm easygoing. Like, yeah, I'm into that. Like, I'll drink beer. Like, no worries. And kind of suppresses their own authenticness around what they like and desire, and they just want to seem more attractive to men. But I would say that a pick me, the distinctual difference is they put down other women
Yeah.
to make themselves seem more superior and not to like other girls.
Yeah, I feel like cool girl's more passive and maybe pick me is a little bit more
They're trying
active.
harder. The cool girl tries so hard not to look like they're trying, whereas the pick me is very obvious in their trying.
Yeah, so we asked you on our Instagram at Triple J the Hookup, have you ever been a pick me? Because I feel like I'm going to come right out there and be like, I've definitely done
Oh my
pick
God,
me
hell
stuff.
yeah.
And I also kind of think if you don't think you have, you're kind of lying to yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that like, sure, maybe you haven't like found a version of yourself where you're like, I was a pick me, but I would say that we have all done some sort of pick me behavior at some point.
Yeah, which could be as small as like lying about something about yourself to appease a guy or like someone you have a crush on, like sort of that kind of thing. But we asked you, have you ever been a pick me? 34% of you said yes. 66% of you said no. I think you guys are not being as honest with yourselves. I don't know.
Maybe
But
people don't understand the definition. And also it's a very hetero thing. So I
That's
think
true.
like not everyone's trying to appease men.
Well, you sent us some examples as well. Mel saying, definitely, I went through a phase at uni where I only drank beer, so guys thought I was cool. Rose saying, was pick me unintentionally as I felt dismissed and thought being cool would get me attention. Did not work.
And Jess, I used to join in with the sexist jokes with the boys because I thought they would like me. I feel like this is a huge one, right? Like,
I see myself in that.
oh yeah.
Like in high school.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, in high school. And I feel like it was such a huge thing for me to lean into that whole like manic pixie dream girl, I'm not like other girls, using anything you can to distinguish yourself as like putting other women down, whether that's like calling them names for sleeping around or looking a certain way or trying to get male validation or whatever, even though you are, by doing that, doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that feeling of when you're growing up and you're like, the best thing you can do in a room of people is get someone to laugh. And with the guys, it's like, you kind of knew it was like an easy win to just like shit on other girls and you'd be like, you'd know you'd get in with them if you did it. So it was very easy to do. And yeah, I actually cringe like
I know.
thinking about some of the things. So
It makes me,
this is a safe space, by the way.
I don't know, I'm like, I
We're
just
gonna
like
get into it,
thinking
though.
back about all the things that I've done and like all the things that I pretended I was into.
So yeah, obviously heard from a lot of you about how you used to be pick-me's as well. But, you know, a lot of you got in touch and told us about how it affected the people around you, not only like yourself and how it was like harmful to your own like identity and growing up and stuff like that. And we had so many people message to say this, including Maya.
They put other women down and they find that making fun of other women or trying to be one of the boys kind of gets them more attention. But I truly think this is kind of harmful, especially when it comes to your personal relationships with other women and creating relationships as friends or even as something more with other women. I think that's very important, and being a pick-me and putting other women down can really
Yeah, I
harm
feel like
that.
for me, that is the most harm I personally find is caused from quote unquote pick-me's. And it is the worst feeling in the world when you have known someone for years, maybe like since the beginning of high school, you've been friends for ages, you have so much trust, you have so much history, you have so much love for each other. And then you're put in situations where you might be out with a group of friends and there's guys and then they all of a sudden are like changing their behavior and putting you down to try and seem more attractive to the guys that are around. And I've had a few friends do this to me and it genuinely like it almost like breaks the friendship. Like I've had friends who have like purposely gone after guys that I've personally said that I've liked, or like put me down or put themselves up in front of the guys to be like, oh, like I'm not like that, or like, oh, D, like that's so like, oh, cute that you've like tried so hard, and like, oh, like you do that, and like those kind of behaviors, and you just sit there and you're just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
I cannot believe my friend is doing this when I've like openly said to you that I really like this guy, and
Yeah.
you're trying to position yourself as like the cool girl and like I'm some loser, like lame.
Yeah. That moment when you're like looking at the friend and you're literally like, who are you? Like that wasn't you like half an hour ago before we ended up at this party or wherever you're at. And like, yeah, heaps of you got in touch to tell us that you've had friendships, had breakups over this, you know, like girls throwing you under the bus in front of people just to get the attention of their crush. Bree saying pick-me's have caused trouble within my friendship groups and it's really uncomfortable for other girls who are actually friends with the guys. It feels extremely unnecessary to act like this and it makes me cringe. So let's get into like the why, I guess. Like obviously you're probably picking up some pretty big clues here, but I think like the big one obviously, which is what we've mentioned, is like the internalized misogyny of it all. The male gaze, needing that validation. Everybody, like we've said this before on the pod so many times, like we are from like very young age like told to appease to guys and to seek that validation. And you know, in a way it kind of like the pick me has done this like very active like rejection of femininity and like distancing yourself from what is traditionally like girly. So like makeup, pink, like fashion, enjoying,
trying too hard.
And like just enjoying those aspects of your personality.
Yeah.
And yeah, as a result, I guess there's a lot of scrutiny and ridicule that happens to women and the whole kind of like becoming competition to each other.
Oh, that's
and
literally
the
how
jealousy.
we've been conditioned. Like, you see it play out in pop culture all the time with celebrities. It's like Beyonce versus Taylor Swift, or like,
guess like, who's jealous of Adele? Beyonce.
It's like always pitting women against each other, and
the man is always the prize.
Yes,
like at the end of the day.
Yes,
and so that filters down into everyone's.
And it's just a tale as old as time that we've heard continuously, and I think that is a huge part of like putting other women down as a pick-me to position yourself as more desirable. And it's like seeing other women as a threat, right?
Yeah.
And men as the prize.
Yeah, exactly. We had so many voice memos from you talking about this, including Zali.
I think with pick-me girls, it's very internalized. I don't think someone decides they're going to act that way or decide that they want to be a pick-me. I think it's a very internalized thing that a lot of girls aren't really aware of. And I think that comes from growing up in a society where we're taught that we kind of need to seek some kind of positive validation from men as a child, as a teenager, as an adult. And so I think lots of us get trapped in that kind of headspace as I need to get that validation. I need to get that kind of approval from a man or a group of men. And unfortunately, in the process of that, it does tend to bring down other women.
Do you feel like as well, obviously there's the internalized misogyny, meaning like, as Ali said, unintentional because it's ingrained in you. But do you think there's also like final boss versions of pick-me's where they're like, I know exactly what I'm doing?
There's definitely nuance.
Yeah.
Like I completely agree. And I think we need to hold space. I think we need to hold space for people who are unaware, right?
Well, yeah,
which
I think
I would say
most
people in high school, like,
yeah,
you know, in high school when we were reflecting on us being pick-me's, it's like,
oh my God, yeah,
all of that. I had no idea what feminism was. I had no idea what the patriarchy was. I couldn't even comprehend that I was socialized a certain way or understand that. And so, yeah, I think that we do need to have a bit of empathy for people who don't realize how they're behaving based on how they've been, you know, influenced.
Yeah.
But then I do agree with you. And I think that there are women out there. I was in a situation once, it's a really long story, so I'll try and keep it really quick.
Ooh.
So, okay, there was a guy that I had a crush on that I matched with on Hinge, and I looked at him on Instagram, and the only mutual friend was a friend of a friend, this girl. And so I actually asked her and I was like, oh my God, what do you think about this guy? Like, I have a crush on him. We've been messaging for a couple of weeks. Like, should I meet up with him? She was like, oh, don't bother. Like, he sucks. Shit route. Like, I wouldn't go there. Like, he's an awful guy, blah, blah, blah. Next weekend, he's messaging me going, oh, little birdie tells me that you have a huge crush on me, blah, blah, blah. She went and slept with him. And then told him that I was obsessed with him. And I hate that. That is final boss. Like, that is manipulative. That is malicious. That is final boss. Pick me. Yeah. Like, you knew exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
And she's like a very intelligent, articulate person.
Yeah.
Like, she knows what she's doing. And so for me, I'm like, I don't know if I have am I holding space for people like that?
Oh, and fair enough. I mean, a lot of you did resonate with that, but a lot of people also, again, was like just really recognizing after a lot of self work and journey that it was very much like a personal insecurity from them. Another person who got in touch with us as well, talking about being an ex-pick-me, was Harriet. And she said that she didn't get a lot of attention from guys growing up. So that's kind of where it came from for her.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of boy attention when I was a teenager, so like early high school. So I noticed I used to do like the whole not like the other girls trope, and it got me a lot of attention. But once I started getting educated and went to like uni and I started listening to Abby Chatfield and Shameless Media, it made me understand that that attention was gross, and then literally never would have picked me anyways. I just made them feel better about themselves. Now, I love being like the other girls, and these men are still alone to this day. So that actually makes a lot of sense in my mind. So, yes, do not be a pick-me.
It's interesting to hear Harriet talk about how she said like, oh, and now I really like all the girly things and I really love the girls. I think like when the term pick-me originated was probably about 2016. And I think we were really deep in that whole manic pixie girl, you know, Scott Pilgrim versus like the world. That was really popular. Those girls like Zooey Deschanel type vibe. And like, I think in a cultural sense, we've done a lot of work to like come back to be like, hey, it's okay if you like pink. It's okay if you want to do like traditionally girly things. It doesn't make you like a stereotype of like dumb or like whatever it is. And it's interesting because I think now that we've gone this far, it's almost like people are now using the term pick me in a wrong way, because it's like the term has developed and I kind of feel like it's run away from us a little bit. So we wanted to explore that in this and ask, you know, has the term gone too far, and is it now problematic to just like hand out a pick me to somebody who essentially is like trying to appease to a guy, or just like has some characteristics that you might think, oh my God, are they being like a pick me and they're trying to like get a guy's attention?
Yeah, I feel like it's a term now that can be quickly just thrown onto someone, like you said, who might just genuinely like drinking beer and talking about it or playing video games. And there was an article online about this where sex and relationship expert Christine Raff notes, originally the pick me girl trope was meant to call out internalized misogyny, but now it's often weaponized to shame. In modern sexuality, they've become shorthand for criticizing how some women present themselves, especially if they're seen as catering to the male gaze.
Yeah, it feels like sometimes people can't get the distinction between like what we're talking about, which is like the active, like very much putting down other women aspect of it, versus, as you said, when someone might have some masculine traits or enjoy things. And I kind of see that in myself. Like,
I was going to say,
I feel like I have a bit of a masculine energy about me, and I don't really like traditionally girly things. And I grew up as like a tomboy, and now looking back and I'm literally like, I'm pretty sure that was just me, and I wasn't like trying to get male validation. Like I had a lot of boyfriends, like boy space friends and stuff like that. But I think, the difference between a woman being performative versus when they genuinely like things that are considered masc or appealing to a man, like other girls are very quick to just like hand out the pick me. And this is something that you had like told us in the DMs, Alex, saying it's not fair to call any girl with an interest in a historically male hobby a pick me. Brie as well saying girls labeling other girls as pick me can be really toxic sometimes. It's a label that's slapped on a girl who has more of a boisterous male type behavior, i.e. tackling friends and burping.
I'm definitely a burper. I'm like, that's me. Yeah, we got this voice memo from Gretchen as well, talking about her experience with girls calling her a pick me.
So I'm in my 30s, and I've been a fan of metal music for well over half my life. And on top of that, I've been working in the industry for over a decade. I've received comments from both ends, but I've gotten more like mean-spirited comments from women asking like, oh, I guess you're here just to impress your boyfriend, or you must be here to just try to sleep with a band guy. So it's just kind of strange to me to think that like the only thing that people can assume is a woman is listening to heavy metal to have sex with men. Like, come on, no. I like what I like. I'm sorry. And if that's not cool with you, then sorry.
Again, just that internalized misogyny. Like, it's so loud, especially in that example. Xian also sent us a voice memo talking about this.
So I was in a group chat with 3 female friends, and someone brought up wanting to buy a new drink bottle from a brand that sort of went viral for a while. And I just made a comment about how I had one of those before they got popular, and this one girl in the group responded saying something like, "That's so pick-me girl of you to say that." And I got really offended because I had seen online that it was a negative thing if you were labelled a pick-me. So I asked her if she even knew what it meant, and that I was offended she called me that, and she said she knew what it meant and she didn't apologise. So that just said to me she was trying to find any way she could to belittle me and make herself look better, even without a man being there. So safe to say I'm not friends with
Not
that
even
girl
a man
anymore.
in the room.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do that.
That is, I'm glad you're not friends with her because that
Yeah.
is just straight up bullying.
Yeah, and
That's
she
not-
doesn't know the term. And so
Clearly
that's
not.
what we're saying. It seems like people are just like handing this out. And when I say people, I mean women, because they're
Yeah.
literally like, I just want to do anything to one up
Cut you down.
and cut you down.
Yeah. Sim sent us a message saying the term pick me is weaponized by misogynists in a way to shame women for trying to attract men in harmless ways, e.g. being interested in a sport or gaming, or used as a derogatory term out of jealousy, e.g. a girl is attractive, confident and flirty, so someone calls her a pick me because she gets a lot of attention from men and likes it. If someone wants/likes male attention but doesn't tear other women down in the process. Yeah, this is the difference, and this is what we were saying at the start. Like there is a very obvious definition around pick me, which involves tearing other women down to make yourself seem superior and lying about being interested in things, right? I think that like for me, it's about the intention. Like if you are, there's a difference between like genuinely enjoying burping, playing sports, liking metal music, and this is inherently like authentic to who you are. There's a very clear difference to me between that and someone who is like trying to appeal to the male gaze and acting in a certain way to purposely distance themselves to make women and feminine things seem as like frivolous or inferior, and putting women down in the process of doing that. Because like you are like in my mind, you're contributing and upholding sexist narratives about women. And I think that's why women get really quick to call women out for being pick me, because it's like almost like a trauma response, if you know what I mean. It's almost like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not putting female things down, feminine things down to make you seem as more like superior, and we're like not belittling stuff that women like.
Yeah, and to quote Christine again, who you mentioned before from Love Honey, she said, when women tear each other down for how they choose to express themselves, it reinforces the idea that there's only one acceptable way to be empowered. Feminism is all about freedom, not prescription. So when so-called feminist content starts to gatekeep what empowered sexuality looks like, it becomes another form of control. Which is, again, we talk a lot about it on the Hookup, like people policing the way that you express yourself and that, like, you know, the types of feminism that you get into. We'd hope you'd be into intersectionality and all of the good stuff. But
yeah, and boxing in people based on their gender. But this is what I mean about the way that people call other people out. It's like, don't shame or attack or try and silence women for expressing who they are. I think it's worth like just exploring that, like just actually encouraging people to unpack maybe why they're behaving in the way that they're behaving, or to like reflect on maybe some of the ideas that they've been brought up thinking about women and men and that kind of thing. Like I think there's definitely like an empathetic way that you can be like, hey, like I noticed that you put me down to, you know, like try and appease that guy over there. Like what was happening there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than being like, you're a fucking pick me.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's unpack why guys might also be straying into this territory. Obviously, we have unpacked a lot of like the female version of this being like wanting male attention, the male gaze, the validation of it all, and the internalized misogyny. But we've been noticing performative males this whole year. There's like competitions in New York and in Australia and Sydney where they jokingly have this aesthetic of a performative male. If you haven't seen this before, it's basically like guys who are trying to lean into their femininity to appease to women.
Yeah.
And the things that women right now in 2025 like are guys who are in touch with their emotions, who like feminist literature or cliterature. Even as far as drinking matcha and having Labubu keychains.
Yeah, I feel like the stereotype and what we've been seeing, guys who are like carrying tote bags, they've got like the tiny crop tee, the like flared pants, they've got the Labubu, the matcha in the hand, painted nails, like maybe a soft mullet. Like it's just such a type. They're holding a copy of Bell Hooks. Like it's become a bit of a meme.
Yeah.
But Pip and I were like, is this the male, like hetero male version of a pick me?
Yeah, because we thought we were like, it's definitely appealing to the female gaze. Like
it's appealing to the female gaze
aesthetically, but also like if you go into like some of the things that a performative male might say, which is like, hey babe, do you need a tampon? I've got some on me. Yeah. Like, because he's a feminist and he wants to take care of you and he understands like your plight in the world. So we wanted to explore this a bit, and obviously there's that guy, but I also think we should hold space for the other guy, which came up a bit on TikTok and on Reddit, but it's like the nice guy Reddit pick me. And that is definitely more of like a less confident version of a guy trying to appease to a woman. And it's that kind of classic dude who's like, oh, nice guys finish last and you wouldn't like me. I'm kind of ugly anyway. And he's like, pick me, choose me, but he's kind of putting himself down. Whereas like the performative male is very much like, I'm a confident young guy. Like I know like what is going to appeal to you. Like there's not like an air of like depression or like, you know what I mean? Like negativity around it.
It's so true.
And I also would say that if you are labeled like a performative male, like as if that's even like anywhere nearly as negative as being called a pick-me girl.
Oh.
Like a pick-me girl, we had such a strong reaction from people in the DMs for this, by the way. People were like, they're the worst people to be around, hate pick-me's, blah, blah, blah. But like as a guy, I feel like maybe because this is such a new term, but also let's just like go back to like the kind of patriarchy of it all. It's like, it's just not that bad. Like it's just not as considered as disastrous to be named a performative male or a pick-me guy. Or a pick-me nice guy is probably pretty negative. But there's something to be said about the difference of like the level
But I feel like the difference is the fact that performative men are actually validating how important it is to have feminine traits, and they're almost putting that as superior, whereas pick-me's are like invalidating and saying that like they're like not associating with it as much. They're just being like, I'm superior because I'm not like other girls. And it's almost it's either this embracing of femininity or the dismissiveness of femininity. And I think that's why people have such a like strong emotional reaction to pick-me women, because it's just like, fuck you for like, you know, putting other people down, whereas performative men are putting women up.
Yes.
And I think that's why.
Yeah.
We asked you as well, we were like, how do you feel about performative males? Georgina said, performative males are mainly a problem if they can't self-reflect on their own actions. You can still be a fuckboy while wearing nail polish and having female friends.
We got another one from Sim who actually sent us a bunch of different points, but she said there's a difference between performative guys who are harmless versus those who weaponize it to manipulate women. Men have not been taught how to empathize with women. They haven't been taught to care or align with values of women, so they don't know how to be genuine in a way that attracts women. So it's deceitful nonetheless. But if they're not weaponizing the misogynistic influence of jealousy, competition, and tearing other women down, then the performative aspect is a skills issue, a lack of knowledge and experience with women. They're learning what women like and pretending to be someone they're not because they have nothing in common with women and want a girlfriend.
I would even argue that performative males are actually just trying to get laid.
They don't even want a long-term partner.
Well, like maybe some, but I would even look at this from like just the basics of peacocking and trying to attract the opposite sex. Sorry, this is really fucking hetero. I'm really sorry. But I just feel like it's a way that men now who are kind of like being a bit deceitful and like leaning into all of these things that women are really valuing in men is a way to be like, I will do these things to get laid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a way to seem attractive, to be desired in the same way that like women will do the same thing, peacocking to try and be attractive and desired by men.
Yeah. And I think what Sim makes sense in terms of like the socialization of boys, they historically don't really know or care a lot about like the values that we have and the things that we care about, and how we walk through the world is so different to them. And so now they're clued in, I guess, because everyone's a little bit more of a global citizen. We can all go on TikTok and see like women talking about like women's issues and like literature that we like and that we resonate with. And now guys are, figuring out a new way to potentially get laid or have a girlfriend, whatever it is.
Our friend recently went on a date. She was telling us about this the other day. And the guy was like, yeah, I'm really into like romanticy, smart books, blah, blah, blah. And then on the second day, and he like genuinely had her interested. She was like, oh my God. And he was like name dropping like authors and name dropping like other things, other feminist things. And then the second day she like pushed him a bit further and asked a few more questions around like what he's been reading. And it turned out that it was like he'd never even read anything.
Yeah, like he hadn't read anything, or it was like 2 years ago I read something. And then she was like, what about that book you recommended to me? He was like, oh, I haven't actually read it.
Yeah.
But, you should read it. It's like, what?
It's like the facade comes off real quick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think there's like levels of like performative male, right? So then there's like what Sim said and kind of that. I mean, it's not totally harmless because it's deceitful and you're still performing. You're like putting a mask on to basically get in bed with somebody. Yeah. But I think like there are levels where there's like a more manipulative version. A lot of you told us that you have encountered that kind of soft boy moment, but you've also encountered like the really nasty, like intentionally deceitful and savage versions. Pixie sent us a voice memo talking about this.
So a few years ago, I had a boyfriend who I would consider to be a pick-me fake feminist. He would do all the right things, like he would go to pro-choice rallies. He had the majority of his friends were feminists, and I really respected and admired his friends and a lot of his opinions. But his opinions didn't really hold up when he was alone. Like, so he wouldn't give oral sex but expected it. Even though he spoke really highly of his sister and his mother publicly, he was very critical of them privately, and he was critical of all the women in his feminist circle also privately, but publicly it was a completely different story. He chose to pose as a feminist just to make himself more desirable to women. Just because somebody has a feminist circle does not mean that they're a feminist, and just because they, have long hair, a musician, and carry a tote bag, don't let them fool you.
I know so many guys like that.
Yeah.
Yes, guys who have like posted continuously on socials being like feminist stuff, rally stuff, like getting behind like certain causes. And I know like in private they are deeply misogynistic.
Yeah. It's all virtue signaling.
It is good. It's like when we did that episode on woke fishing.
Yeah.
It's like
this
being
is the new age
woke
version.
is now social currency.
Yes.
And what's really interesting, and we probably should acknowledge this, is like that really is heightened depending on where you live. So like us being in Melbourne, in certain pockets of Melbourne, like the north, it's like this is heightened to a T, right? There are so many guys who look like a performative male, and some are genuine, some probably aren't, but it's the social pressure, right? If you went out to regional Australia in the middle of nowhere, that person doesn't exist, and that social pressure doesn't exist. So it is really interesting. I feel like when we do see videos like this online, they are usually from like huge cities like New York or Melbourne.
We got this really great DM from Jai, which I think is an important perspective to look at. Jai said, performative male scrutiny discourages men from straying outside straight masculinity, which I think is really interesting because like bigger picture, guys are already so boxed in with masculinity and all those traditional gender roles. So it's almost like, God forbid, a guy lean into a little bit of femininity and stray outside of that box, I guess. And maybe we shouldn't be shaming them for that. Maybe along the way they might actually pick up something and learn it. Like maybe they could be changed by this.
They might actually read the bell hooks book that they're carrying around and decide, hang on, I kind of fuck with this.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My hot take is I love the performative male. My hot take is in the like cultural sphere of where we are seeing the manosphere and we are seeing men go down that really right-wing traditional values, seeing women as objects, objectifying women, seeing them as like people that need to be in the kitchen and only exist to raise family, and the stripping of all of our rights in certain places like the US when it comes to like reproductive issues. In the scheme of like, if on one side we're dealing with that, and on the other side we've got men who are trying to appease the female gaze, I'll take the guy with the matcha and the tote bag and the painted nails any day over a guy who thinks that I shouldn't have rights.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like, in a way, he's not halfway there, but you're almost like, I could influence you. I could fix you. Whereas like the guy who is red-pilled, like incel on the other end, or like super masculine, would never, ever be caught dead putting some hair product in his hair.
Well, the difference is one person is acknowledging and valuing feminine things and the other is completely dismissing it as like inferior. So it's like, even if it is performative and maybe not like authentic, I'd way rather go on a date with that guy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I still am like, at the end of the day, if we're just going to go straight down the line of like the definition of like performative and they don't believe it, then I'm like, oh, are they any better? But I do know what you mean. Yeah. I do.
And it's like, eventually you'll find out, right? Like, I do think that like in a certain capacity, we're all performing on a first date. And I do think that like, yeah, we should be showing up as our authentic selves, but I do think that's a lot to ask. A lot of people aren't doing that. So I don't know. And we've had this conversation before about trust being earned. Trust should be earned. And I think that like you'll soon realize how much it's performative. But I still think that like, yeah, if the decision is to like shame men for doing that or not shaming, like I'm not shaming. I'm like, grab a matcha, paint your nails.
Let's go to the park and read.
Grab that bell hooks
Bell
book.
hooks.
Even if you don't read it, at least you're still saying that it's like something that you are acknowledging is of value.
That's a hot take.
It is a hot take.
I liked it. Okay, so obviously this is a huge episode and we tried to get into a couple of the layers of this terminology of pick me, performative male. What does it all mean? Is it good, bad, and everything? We can't fit it all in one. So sorry if we missed anything. And
we definitely did.
Yeah, we definitely
missed a lot.
Yeah. And I'm again sorry that it was so heteronormative. Again,
yes,
we'll work on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any other thoughts, please get in our DMs at Triple J the Hookup. We love to hear from you.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, comment below.
Hey.
Yeah.
Leave a hot take.
Yeah, come on. See if you agree with mine or not.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.